So hi, I'm Caya. Thanks for. I didn't realize I was going to compete with lunch today. That's fine. Uh, don't worry about it. I can throw a joke. So yeah. Well, my name is Caya. I'm the CEO and founder of a company called Slidebean. The reason why I'm here at all is because a little bit by accident, the company started a YouTube channel, and that YouTube channel sort of blew up a little bit. So now we've grown the challenge to have 1 million subscribers, and now I sort of stand in the middle of these two things. Like I went from advertising, from spending money and paying influencers to position my brand, to sell more, to track conversions, etc. Moving into actually collecting money from companies to advertise them in our channel. So that's sort of a bit of a transition. So now, like, I have the advantage that I play in both sides, right? So I've had the experience of paying and understanding how that ROI works, and now I've had the experience of charging people and knowing when I get to screw them or not. So, but more than that, the reason I'm here is because still, like, the company that we started originally is still a SaaS company, right? I'm not just like a random influencer. Yeah, we're a VC-backed company. We have over 10K customers. I had to deal with my whole SaaS and churn and everything. But since 2020, the company has sort of taken a different spin, and we're not that sure what that spin is yet. So we do a bunch of things. The original product was a pitch deck builder. Now we have a bunch of templates and a CRM for investors, etc. It's still a SaaS thing, but again, like the reason why I'm in the influencer space is because we recently started this YouTube channel I was telling about before the slides came up. So, and a bit of what defines how our company makes money is this question of, well, how much of that revenue, how much of our revenue is touched by content? And it's actually a fair amount, almost half. So again, as I was saying, I went from this paying people or paying companies or paying influencers to market our products to, on the other hand, actually charging now, and we take the occasional sponsor and brand deal in our channel. So yeah, a bit of both, and I'm going to give you some kind of insider information on both sides. Starting with the job of the CMO. What is the job of the CMO? I think twofold. One, it's the brand, right? So CMO's job is to build the brand, to get the brand out there, get people to know, to talk about the product, to be excited about the product, etc. And the other one is sales, conversion, what I would call direct response ads, etc. So how do you balance this? How much of that time as CMO should be dedicated to brand awareness versus, let's call this direct response, an ad or a paid marketing campaign that you actually do and that generates revenue? Well, for an early stage company, I think that the balance should be somewhere around there, where brand awareness is just this little small corner of your budget and budget and focus, and direct response is really the biggest side of that focus. And then, so let's go through some basics on this to kind of get on the same page on why you shouldn't do influencer marketing here. Well, first, brand awareness is not something that you should be focused on early on. You shouldn't be spending more than 20% of your budget effort on brand awareness because it's really hard to track. It's really, you can't measure brand awareness into a tangible thing like revenue. And you should absolutely be focusing on the direct response stuff. You should actually absolutely be focusing on getting your first customers in. Two, so of course at this stage you should not be paying influencers. Don't do it. Don't think about it until at least you have 100 customers. Why? Because you need to understand who those customers are to be able to find the right channel to target them. Right? So you can do content yourself. That's fair. Like, I think it's a fair experiment, and that's gotten, TikTok has lowered that barrier for everyone, and it's made it a lot easier. You shouldn't consider influencers your go-to-market strategy. I get to see this a lot in pitch decks. A lot. It's like, oh, we're going to do influencer marketing, and that's like your go-to-market strategy. It's not a great idea. Three, direct response, I think, still makes or breaks a company. If you can solve direct response, I think that you're on your way to growth, and brand awareness becomes less relevant, really, at that stage. So own direct response, understand it, understand your metrics, understand your conversion rate, understand your cost of acquisition before you even do anything else. Four, forget about UTM tags. Like, I wish I lived in this world where you can track your conversions accurately and know exactly where that customer came from, but that doesn't work like that. Or after a certain scale, it just doesn't work like that anymore. You can use stuff like segmetrics. I think segmetric is probably my favorite alt tool, but it's still not perfectly exact, and I don't think that you can ever find like a perfectly exact way to track stuff. And with influencer marketing, it gets even harder, right? Because you have people discovering your brand or talking about it, or hearing about it through TikTok or through YouTube or through Instagram. And how do you really track that conversion? Maybe the person that converted doesn't even know how they heard about you because it's like this unconscious action. So I think the best way is to ask. If you just ask someone, if you just ask your customers where or how they heard about you, I think it's a very valid test. The way we actually do it with our content is we don't ask them if they discovered us through YouTube. We ask them if they've heard about our YouTube channel. And we consider them a sale that was touched by our content, but not necessarily driven by it. Maybe the thing that converted it was an ad or a retargeting ad or some blog post, but we discover if that was valid in the whole user journey. And I think that that's kind of the idea. And last but not least, this is all about understanding the audience. Why? Because when you're doing influencer marketing, this is a very broad thing. This is a very broad reach. You're reaching a lot of people, usually for a fair price. But if you don't know who the audience is, you're just throwing money into the air without a lot of targeting. So that doesn't work. So start niche and then expand. I spent 0 minutes on this dashboard. This is literally what YouTube generates for any channel. So if you're ever considering influencer marketing, somebody can give you this report with 0 effort. And a lot of influencers or a lot of creators don't want to give out these reports because sometimes the audience is not exactly matching. Right? But everybody has it, everybody can generate it, and you should just ask for it. Which of course should help you kind of align that with what your audience is. But let's go back to that balance. Like, is it worth it? Is it useful at all? What is influencer marketing? Like, what's the case for influencer marketing? Well, the first thing is, again, if you're an early stage company, you should be working direct response. That doesn't work. I believe that influencer marketing stands at somewhere like here. It's mostly a brand awareness play. It should mostly come out of your brand awareness budget, but you can make it work to direct response. You can make it work to actually get and track conversions that happened through that as a real life marketing channel where you pay and get conversions on the other hand. It is possible. So a small case for these guys. I'm speaking with the SaaS founder hat now. So a small case for that. There is a value of trust. It's why a lot of brands do it. If you have somebody who validated, somebody who people trust and they watch their content and suddenly validates your product, that's valuable. And I think it's not to be ignored. There's a reach case where you can get a reach that's much more powerful, useful, and usually for the same price that you would get that reach on an ad, right? If you have a skippable ad on YouTube, that's just an annoyance. If you have somebody who mentioned your brand and your product, I mean, it's less annoying, and it's validated by that person. That person sort of accepted that. I know of a couple creators who got into real trouble because they've been promoting these NFT shitty scams back a couple years ago, and people stopped trusting them, right? So there's this sense that if you accept a sponsor, you sort of validate it a little bit, and I think that's valuable. Another case is that traditional marketing has gotten a little harder with how targeting has gotten a little harder with Facebook blocking ads, and you getting less information about who you advertise, which is great for us as humans, but bad for us as advertisers. The other point is that there is a case for the exception, and very much the exception, like the one, maybe not the 1 in 1 million, but the 1 in 10,000 examples of a company or a brand or a product or a restaurant or a shop that got viral on TikTok. Like that's a case. It happens. We've seen it. We've witnessed it. So I'm not saying that you should do influencer marketing because of the possibility of this happening, but it is a possibility case. And more importantly, I think it's a balance. Like in a world where traditional marketing has gotten harder, where we as humans have evolved to be ad blind and just ignore ads more and more. The reason why influencer marketing has tripled over the last budget money for influencer marketing has tripled over the last few years is because brands are doing a balance of all these channels. Okay, so now to the insider info. How much should you be paying for this? It's useful. Well, I'll tell you first how much our team costs. So we have a team of 7 people. Producer, junior editor, et cetera, et cetera. including about half of my time that I dedicate to the channel, and the rest of the time still goes to running the company. And that team costs somewhere around 250K a year, which is, oh, you're paying your employees shit? Well, no, really. We're part of the team is in Costa Rica, so that makes it for a cheaper team. We managed to make 3 or 4 videos a month, which translates roughly into about $6,000 to produce a single video, which is, I mean, it's a lot of money to produce a single video. But that's really, I think it should be disconnected with how much we charge to advertise on the channel. Why? Because advertising really depends on reach. This is maybe a reference that you'll find useful if you consider you're creating a content team. I've come across a fair share of companies that are trying to do that. They're trying to start a team that produces content, and this is, I guess, maybe a useful reference. But how much do you pay for this? Well, there are really 2 ways in which you can charge or you can budget an influencer marketing campaign on. I think this is the YouTube case which I'm most familiar with, but I think this extends to to pretty much other channels as well. First, on a flat CPM basis, so the same way you would pay YouTube to run pre-roll ads, you would estimate what a CPM is of a video and work out of that, or through affiliate. So let's go through both of them. So flat CPM is very easy. What you do is you take usually the average views of the last 10 or 12 videos, divide that by 1,000, and multiply it by CPM. A normal CPM is about $30. So you're looking at a channel that consistently gets 500K views on their videos on a $30 CPM. That translates into about $15,000 for a sponsorship. I think that's fair, both from both sides, and it is pretty much an industry standard. So that $30 CPM, I think, stands right in the middle. I've seen brands push down to like a $15 CPM, which when we usually have the luxury of rejecting as creators, we're like, no, like unless we don't have any sponsors for the next 3 months, nobody's called us recently, we're like, fine, we'll do the $15, but normally we would reject this. So $15 doesn't work. $30 is a standard. 25, I think, is still in a pretty standard. We sometimes get away with going all the way to 45. We have the advantage of being a little niche and the audience being like hard to capture. So we get away with that, but don't pay 45. You should aim for 30. Okay, so advantages and disadvantages for both sides. So for the brand, again, remember, this is a combination of brand awareness and direct response. You should track conversions. You should do your best to track how many people you converted, but you mostly do this because of the brand awareness. But still, advantages and disadvantages. First of all, there's no guarantee on conversions when you do CPM, but that's when you do CPM across any campaign, right? It's still expensive, 15, assuming that you're targeting a channel with 500,000 views, 15K is a big, expensive bet. But remember, you're doing it because of the reach that this gives you. No guarantee on conversions. Past results don't guarantee future success, meaning you might be sponsoring a video that did pretty poorly, and there's nothing you can do about it as a brand. I've seen the case of brands negotiating a minimum number of views, and I think that that's a fair clause that you can plug into any contract. It's like, well, we expect at least 400K views, otherwise you give us another video, and that's fair. Also, the creator isn't necessarily motivated to the success of the campaign, right? You're just a sponsor that sponsored the video. We as creators want to make them happy and not have them advertise again. But beyond that, there's no real commitment to the success of that campaign. For the creator, this is overall a good deal. Like, this is a standard CPM. And we get lucky if the video does poorly. If you launch the video did not do so well, we still got paid for it, right? Which is, again, lucky with air marks because, we were probably going to have that sponsor not sponsor anything ever again. So it's not really great, but cool. That's the balance for CPM. Now for affiliate. Now affiliate, the formula is simpler. Most affiliate brands, we did Skillshare a few months back. Skillshare pays a flat $10 per sign up. Skillshare probably understands that their LTV to CAC, whatever, conversion rate from free sign up to paid works on a $10 per sign up basis. So that's what they are willing to pay. It's pretty standard. You can't, and Skillshare actually does a bunch of their third parties to find more channels to sponsor. You've seen them all over YouTube. And they usually land on that $10 per sign up. Sometimes there's like a minimum $1,000 for the video, but usually it's that. Or other brands do like a 30% rev share with a cap. right? So like we'll give you 30% of our revenue up to say $10,000. Now, so what's the pros and cons on this? Like for the brand, this is the best. I mean, this is the best deal you can get. There's no downside, no risk. You're essentially paying for conversions. This is truly a direct response campaign for you as a brand. No risk, and if you don't get any conversions, you got the free brand awareness. That's a fantastic deal. For the creators, this is shit. This is the shittiest possible deal that we can get offered. I mean, the reason I justify it from my dual hat is, and when a brand comes like with something like this, we're like, I don't have a control over your conversion funnel. If your landing page is shit, there's nothing I can do about it. I can do a perfect ad. 1 million people can see it. But if your landing page is bad, like there's nothing I can do about it. So it's not my fault you didn't convert. I shouldn't be penalized for that. That's what I tell them. But some brands just will refuse to do anything other than affiliate. We don't have visibility. This is a big problem also. Like we don't have a visibility on how many people we convert. We trust them to give us the right number of signups that we brought them. But unless they're using like PartnerStack or something that's decent and reputable, and most of them aren't, you really don't know. Bad deal. This is a bad deal all around. You have to enforce payment. Like sometimes they'll just forget and they won't pay you for 2 months. So if you're a brand, you should try and do an affiliate. Honestly, it's the best deal. If you can nail an affiliate deal, if you find an influencer or a creator who's desperate enough or who's junior enough, inexperienced enough to not know, then you can do that. Otherwise, go with flat CPM. For creators, don't do it. If there are any in the room, flat CPM is what you want to do. But once again, remember that balance. And if you take any quotes from this, it's like you should aim for conversions, but you should settle for brand awareness because it is what it is. It is what you're going to get. So last few tips on the whole thing. Package it. I think that's a good idea. If you can get deals of 3 video packages, usually spread out the risk. Make it easier, and you can get better deals on this. Even for us from the creator side, we have to negotiate less. We only have to get assets once, so that helps. Milestone based, I think this is useful. Like set minimums, set a minimum number of views, and negotiate a second video if that doesn't happen. That usually works pretty well. Remember the balance. It's not just for the direct response. It's not just for the brand awareness. It's a mix of both, leaning towards the brand awareness on a $30 CPM as a standard. And that's it. Thanks a lot.